Oh, now what? Hey, welcome to Can't Let Her Die DIY. If you found this channel, you probably have an excavator that needs repair or maintenance, like mine. You know what? Finally, this thing has broken down. This thing's been going for 4 years. Nothing has touched it, has not broken down. It's amazing. The reliability, the engineering in this. I love this excavator. But actually right now, it's not working. I was using it the other day, and what happened was all of a sudden I noticed fluid pouring out the bottom. I got down, I looked at it, it's radiator fluid. It's a huge hole in the radiator. Fluid's dumping out. I just made it back in here in time, next to the garage here where I can start looking at it. So big problem. It did not overheat, so that's good. But a huge problem. What is it? Is it a busted radiator? Is it a hose? Is it the water pump leaking through the water pump? It's really hard to see in there. It's really hard to tell. But we got to get this fixed. We can't let this die. We use this almost every weekend of the summer. This is one of the most important pieces of equipment I own. So we got to get this done, and I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can help. So why don't you go back, grab beverages and some snacks if you want to sit down and watch this video. Those of you who want to join in, grab your tools, throw on some old clothes. I'll throw on my old clothes, and we'll get back here. We'll meet here in 5 minutes. We'll get this panel off. We'll get in there, look at the engine. We'll look at the radiator. We'll maybe pull that radiator off, see where this is leaking, see if we can fix it, see if we need a new radiator, new hose, what we need, what we got to do. But we got to get it fixed. We got to get it fixed now because I got work to do. So, and I need your help. So, let's go. If I can do it, you can do it. I got this. I know I got this. You got it too. And you know what? You know what it would cost to get a mechanic to come out here and fix this up? Do you know what it would cost to float this into the dealership to get this? No way. Those are not options. We can do it ourselves. We're DIYers, and we're doing it. I Can't Let Her Die DIY. Let's go. 12 millimeter. Take these bolts off. We're going to take the bolts off to the radiator and see if we can see where it's leaking. If it's leaking there, or a hose, or whatever. So these are 12 millimeter bolts. These stubby ratcheting wrenches come in really handy. Really come in handy on these when you're in a tight spot like this. You don't have a lot of room. I love these wrenches. Don't get a lot of leverage on though. Should be this way. There's some bolts at the bottom of the radiator. If you follow my hand down here at the bottom of the radiator, right there. Can you see that? That is a 10 millimeter. That needs to come off. And there's one on the other side, right down there. They're little brackets to hold the radiator on. So that's what I'll do next. Remove those. So we got a couple Phillips screws holding this smaller radiator on. So it gets you in there a little bit. Right there. And another one on the other side. So we're going to snap those off. If they'll come. There we go. Okay. This bar is in the way right here to get that screw up. This small radiator. We're going to get that out with the screwdriver. Can't get onto it because the bar's in the way. You're going to need one of these. It's a 10mm bolt. We can get it. It's got a hex head on it. It takes a Phillip or a 10mm socket. So we're going to go with the wobbly universal joint there, 10mm, the extender. And if you go in on this angle here, you can get a hold of that. And like that, we can get it. Okay, with that bolt removed, this radiator flops down, this mini radiator, a smaller one in front, and the bigger one, which is the one we think is leaking, is freer. So we'll see what's still holding that on and go from there. The smaller one is just connected by some hoses at the bottom. So it's just kind of free sitting in there. And now we can get at the bigger one. This must still be held in by these this hose here. We'll remove that hose and see how it's stuck in there at the bottom. I think it's just pushed down into two little slots in the bottom, pushed down, and connected at the top by these bolts that I've already removed. So I'm going to get that hose off next. So with your trusty Phillips screwdriver, you can get that. There's a clamp holding this hose on. Want to get a closer look? Right there. Really tight there. Okay, it's freed up now. There we go. That's a nice clamp, eh? The way that works. It's pretty cool. It's just a hose clamp, but a different style one. Like that. That comes off there. We're getting there. Take this bracket off that's holding the second radiator on. There's a bolt in here. I think if we can get this bracket off, that'll give us a couple inches to pull out the big radiator. It's 10mm. Using the wobbly universal style socket. It. It's gonna fall. There we go. Oh. And it fell. They're all 10mm, so that's kind of nice. There's that bracket that we're trying to get off. Right there. That's kind of, it holds the radiator in place so it doesn't shake around, holds it nice and firm, and sets up a spot to attach the secondary radiator. The smaller radiator attaches right to there and to there. So that's a bracket. Get that out of the way. Free up more room to get in there. So we're going in by the engine now. The radiator, there's the fan. Fan's right in there. So that's behind the radiator. We're going to find there's a hose here going from the radiator to the engine. Straight down in here. Right there. Can you see that? I gotta take that clamp off. There's a hose right here. I'm touching it with the wrench. Hopefully you can see that. And I gotta get that clamp out of the way because that's attaching, holding the radiator in place. I'll get right on that. You're gonna have to get this hose off as well. This one right here, because it's stopping the radiator from coming out this way. So we gotta remove that, and it just has a clamp, the same clamps we've been running into here. So I'm gonna remove that hose and see if that makes life a little easier. That is loose. That should come off now. There's that hose. It goes like that. Right. And now we got a lot more movement in there, but we still got something holding it. We'll keep picking away at it. Aha, I can pry it in there like that. Get that side out. So I have the radiator partially disassembled. I have it loose. It's loose. There is one bolt I'm having a hard time getting to. I'll have to figure that out a little later, how to get that off. So I got the small radiator detached, and I can move this a little bit, and I pulled out on this shroud, holding the shroud that goes around the fan. That just pulls out, and this radiator has 2 feet that sit inside, that hold it inside rubber pieces, and it sits down in that. So this radiator should come up and out, but I'm stuck on that one bolt. So at this point, I kind of want to, I'm not sure where it's leaking. Is it leaking from the radiator? Because I couldn't see in there. I didn't have a strong enough light. Now that I have parts removed, I'm going to retest it. I'm going to pour some water in it and see where it's leaking. I got a better view of it now. Maybe I could see. I'm hoping it's going to leak from one of the hoses in the back, not from the radiator, not from the water pump. Maybe it's leaking from the water pump. So I'm still trying to find out where this leak is. It's a fast leak, so maybe it's a hose. Maybe it's a simple hose. That's what I'm hoping for. So to pour water back in, I'm just going to reattach this hose that I removed, because I can't get the, because I've detached it here. I'm just going to attach it here and then pour water right down the hose. So that's where we are, folks. Let's get busy. Let's go. Okay, I got that hose on good enough to get water into the radiator, see where this is leaking. I got a funnel here. Funnel goes there. It's not distilled water, but it's clean, ozone, non-chlorinated, non-carbonated water. Why am I pouring water? Because I know it's going to come right out on the ground. I don't want to waste radiator fluid. Okay, I think I found the leak. It was really hard to get the camera in here, so I've got it focused on the area that it looks like it's leaking from the hose in behind the radiator. And it looks like the hose has come off, so I'm going to pour some water in the radiator. And I want you guys to see if you can see it leaking. See the water pouring right out. Pour some more in. See that? See the water coming out? It's leaking right at the bottom of the radiator. That's how you drain your radiator. That hose leads nowhere. You just back it off and it's a stop. So I believe One end of that hose is attached to the lower part of the radiator for draining the radiator. The other end is for, you detach it and you can collect the fluid. So this is really good news. It's good news for me. It's good news for you. We don't have to take the radiator off. We just have to insert that hose. That looks like that hose came off. The clamp, just over the years, it jiggled loose. Clamp may not have been as tight as it should have been, and or someone stuck it on, a previous owner stuck it on there, drained the radiator, and never tightened up that clamp. It's probably hard to get at, so that's probably what happened. Really good news. Really, I'm happy. This makes my day. I may be able to fix this today, get back in the field, get this thing busy. I'll get you back in there once I figure out how to get in there and fix that hose. Excellent. I'm loving this. Okay, I'm going to pull out now, and I'm going to go get underneath and show you the other end of that hose. So pulling out, there's the engine, right? Now I'm going to crawl down underneath. I'm going to get in here, get you up here, and show you where the action is. Got my light positioned a little bit here. Okay, so I got my pointer. There's the end of that hose. You saw the other end? Here's the other end. It kind of stops. It stops right here. So this is how you drain your radiator. Right here. If you follow that hose up, it is detached on the other end. I can wobble that. I can move that with my fingers and it just... see that? It is detached. So over time, that wasn't stuck on very well, and it just jiggled loose on its own, which is a great best case scenario for me, as long as I can get that reattached to the radiator. So it kind of pays to have good lighting conditions. I couldn't see it when this first happened. It's so dark in here, but I was able to go home, get some lights and be able to see a lot better. So now we diagnosed the problem, and we're going to get this fixed. I'm going to get that hose reattached. Once I figure out how to do it, I may remove this oil filter right here and change the oil. I may change the oil in this, change the oil filter. I do have one with me, a spare oil filter, so that I can reattach this hose with that oil filter not in the way, and then reattach the new oil filter, fill her up with oil, fill her up with radiator fluid, and Bob's your uncle. I'm back in business. So I started out trying to find out if the radiator was leaking or where this radiator coolant was coming from. It looked like the bottom of the radiator, which kind of scared me, but so further investigation I found it's coming from a hose, right? You just saw that in the last scene. So we've determined it's coming, that hose has detached from the bottom of the radiator. I can't get in there because the oil filter's in the way. So now this video has gone from fixing a radiator leak to changing the oil. So I can't take the oil filter off without oil going everywhere, so I might as well change the oil. And so luckily I have some pan here to catch the oil, and I have an oil filter because it was on my list of things to do anyway, change the oil. So I'm going in. If you want to give me a hand change the oil, come on in with me. I'm underneath the excavator, and we're going to locate the oil drain plug, which is right here. If you want to get in, and I got it's a 22 millimeter. It's right here. There's the oil pan. There's the oil filters up in there. There's the drain plug. Kubota's put it in a really good spot. It's easy to get at. Thank you very much, Kubota. They seem to be thoughtful in stuff like this. I like it. But you know what? That is freaking on there. Must be losing strength, folks. But the good news is I have a breaker bar. I'm getting the breaker bar. This is a 1.5-foot breaker bar. I got the 22mm socket on there, and this is one stubborn drain plug. Holy freak. Ah, got it. That thing was on there. Once you break it free, so that's the breaker bar, guys. I love that. That's the breaker bar, and that gets you. It either breaks it free or breaks the bolt right off. Either way, it's coming off. In this case, once you break it free, you can do it with your fingers, and this should come out pretty fast. Although the oil is cold. So ideally you would want to have your engine kind of warmed up so you can get all the oil out, but since I don't have a radiator that's working properly, no fluid in it, I'm doing this cold. This is the other option. Some people prefer this because they just assume all the gunk hasn't been circulated, it's been sitting, so it all settles to the bottom. Any iron filaments and that sort of stuff that gets past the oil filter will be down there at the bottom, so some people prefer, they think it's better to do it cold. I kind of think it's better to do it warm, but maybe to alternate back and forth is the best way. And of course we got a little wind here, so we got to make sure we don't have any spills. Very important. And that's it. So to make sure that the wind doesn't blow it, you can just stick a funnel on here. It kind of shelters it from the wind and gives it less distance for the wind to blow it. Just as I said that, the wind just picked up. So, okay, I just stuck the plug in and wiped it off. It was draining really well into the pan until it started to come out very finely. The final little last end of it was wispy. The wind was catching it. It was missing the pan, so I had to put down put a rag down here to catch that. And then I just threw that plug in real quick because it wasn't all going in the pan. Some of it was going on the rag there. I didn't want to get it on the ground, so I got her in, and now it's, you gotta tighten this up. Don't use the breaker bar to tighten it up. It'll be way too tight. That's probably what happened. So go with your socket set, and I'm just snugging it up like that. And I'll watch that when I'm using to see if it has any drips. Make sure you clean that off so you know there's no oil on it. So if you do see oil on it, you know it's dripping. You guys know this because you probably done oil changes on your truck and stuff. So same principles here. Diesel's always, the oil's always black, a lot blacker. I'm gonna get this and I'll take this oil now and I'll pour it into a container for disposal. And you can always take your used oil back where you purchase your oil. In Canada here, whoever sells oil is obligated to take used oil. They don't want you to know that. They don't advertise that. They don't really want your oil, but they have to take it back free of charge. So that's what we're going to do. But I want to examine this oil, see if there's any metal grit in it, any sludge, any grit. So it should be at the bottom of this pan. So I'll take note of that, and that indicative of internal grinding of the engine, or something's wrong in the engine. If you're starting to find iron filaments and grindings in your oil, grit, that's not good. But, so hopefully there's none of that. I'll check that out, and if I find anything, I'll get back to you. But can see that part. The next thing, since you're here, I might as well take off this oil filter. I got a band oil filter wrench, and I put it on the oil filter. And if I turn it just a bit, get in here so I can see what I'm doing. Get that on there like that. Nope. There. And you turn this way. So there's going to be some oil come out from this oil filter as well. Man, everything's on tight. That was a little too tight, but it wasn't me that did this last. So now I'll get the wrench off. You just turn it half a turn, and then you can do it by hand. I'm going to reposition your pan here. So there will be some oil coming down here, and try to contain the mess as best you can, since we're outside and we don't want to contaminate the ground at all. Now, if it's hot oil, you would be worried about getting burnt, but this is cold oil, so it's not going to burn you. If it gets on your hand, that's going right in the pan, so we're good. And we got a rag there for any of those wispy bits that the wind catches, because this is a field operation. It's always harder. So pour that out. I stuck my finger in the hole, got her down. And that's where the worst oil should be, in the oil filter. That's where all the filaments, iron filaments and grindings and any particular matter will get caught in the oil filter. Here's the new filter. This is a Kubota original filter. It's part number HH1CO32430, and it's also written on the filter itself, 32430. So that's the filter you want. It's the same filter I removed, so that's good. We got her off. I checked. The rubber gasket is on the old filter. That's good, so we're not going to double gasket it. Take a little bit of oil and ring that, but it's not too important. Ring that gasket so it provides a better seal when it's up there. But there's oil all over the place up there, so. Okay, I pulled the hose down. I was able to get up there, see the hose, pull it down, and unfortunately, it's not a loose clamp. It is broken off at the nozzle that goes into that radiator. So I'm just going to loosen this up and take a look. That was totally detached, and I think that broke over time. I know I didn't do it because it was there's all kinds of play in this hose. So I did pull the radiator out a little bit, but it wasn't, this hose was not tight. Like it, you know, it wasn't enough to do that. Now I'll get my needle nose pliers and pull that out. And there still is a knot. This is only half of the tube. The other half is still attached to the radiator, so I may be able to put this hose right on the radiator without needing this part here, because it does come out like this much, so it may be enough, or I may have to jimmy something up to make that work. Needle nose pliers, that portion right there. Big on in it, but it's only a to drain the radiator. Okay, this is what is going on. This is what we're thinking. This is the end of the radiator that broke off, right? Now there's probably half of it still attached to the radiator, but it flares out on the side. It has shoulders to it to make it thicker, so that hose will not go back on. It needs this part. So what we've decided, what I was thinking of doing is, I don't really need that hose attached to the radiator for draining the radiator. What I can do, because there's still a section of this on the radiator and the hole is that big, it's just a tiny hole in there, I'm going to plug the hole with a screw. So what I thought I would do, I just kind of tested it out on this end. So what I thought I'd do is get in there, and I put a little O-ring on that screw, and it is the right size to get in there like that, and I'm just going to plug up that hole. It's got a good grip on it. It's cutting its own threads, and I tested it out on this to see if it would split. It's not splitting. It's accepting that, and I'm going to put JP weld on it as well, just to make an additional seal there. And I'm going to do that. It's going to get to that O-ring right there. Are you catching this? And see that O-ring will expand like that and just seal that up fully. I don't even think I need the JP weld on there, because it would be nice to be able to unscrew this screw at some point. So because that fits so nicely and cuts in there as if it was made, that screw was made for that, I think with those threads biting into that plastic, I think that should be sufficient to hold that on. And so I've just decided maybe I won't go with the JB weld, and I'll monitor if this leaks again, and I'll simply just put JP weld on it the second time. If I notice it is leaking, I'll put the, if it blows it out, then I'll just do it again and put JP weld on it, and then it may be a permanent fixture. I'll have to change the fluid just by draining it, causing a siphon and draining it from the top of the radiator with a siphoning effect, and get most of it that way, and do that instead of replacing the radiator. So that's my fix. I'm going to go try it right now, and just wanted to explain it outside, because it's going to be hard for you to see me actually do this on the excavator. But that's the plan. We got a plan, and we're going to make it work, because we can't let this thing die. This excavator, it does a lot of work for us, and it's a lot easier than replacing that radiator. So cross your fingers, we're going in. There's the fix, and it's going in. I got JP weld on it, on the threads, an O-ring, and it's a Robertson screw. And I got a mini screwdriver because it's tight in there. Okay, there's the screw that I just put in that orifice that drains. Here's the hose. It normally comes down on this hose right here, and you drain your radiator fluid through that plug. So there's the screw. Can you see that up in there? It screwed in really well. I could feel it biting in, going in, and then it got tight. It got real snug, and I had to really, I could still force it, and I got it really tight. So it feels like it really worked well. It feels like it created its own threads because it's plastic, and it bit into it, created its own threads, and then it had a firm grip. I can feel it compressed due to that O-ring. I think this is going to work. I got JP weld on it for plastics, bonding plastics and metal, so I think that's going to work, and I think it's in there. I'm not sure if I'll ever be able to get it out, but I'll worry about that 2 years from now when I need to drain this. And if I can't get it out, I'll just siphon the radiator fluid from the top. And it's a heck of a lot easier than trying to replace a radiator in the middle of the field here. Excellent. Works for me. Hope it works for you too. Okay, we're going to snap the oil filter back on. There's the new oil filter. There's where it goes. It just screws on. That's that. We got this on. We got that snug in place. We're going to clean up a little bit of this oil so that we know if it starts leaking oil, we'll know that it's a new leak and it's not left over from changing the oil filter and the plug. So everything's cleaned up. So if there's a drop on those, we know it's leaking and it needs to be tightened or fixed up. Let's go up top, put some oil in this bad boy. Okay, we're back up top here. We're going to put some oil into the engine, the diesel engine. We're using 10W30, 100% synthetic. It's kind of an awkward spot, but it can be done. Okay, we gotta put this hose back on. We tighten up the clamps on either side, right? I filled it full of radiator fluid, coolant, and it did scare me half to death because it started leaking over here on top of the oil filter, and geez, like getting a kick in the guts. So I looked and I realized it's off the back hose here. I had loosened up that clamp trying to get that hose off and I couldn't quite get it off. So it was loose, it was leaking through that hose. So I tightened that clamp back up the way it's supposed to be at stop. So thank goodness. So then we filled up this, continue to fill it up with radiator fluid, coolant, 50-50% mixture. And just like the manufacturer suggests. And it is not leaking, there's not a drop leaking, so we filled it right to the top. I filled up the overflow container midway, so we're looking good on that. We got new oil in it. It took 5 liters exactly. That's kind of nice, eh? 5-liter container takes the 5 liters. I don't know if they fluked that or that just works out. I love that one. So that's good. We got the new filter on, oil filter on. All that's left is us. We had kind of disassembled some of this radiator, the frame and the mini radiator right here. So we're just going to put those screws right back the way we found it, push this in, get that radiator back the way it was, and then we'll be done. So I'll do that and I'll get you back in here. Okay, we got the radiator tucked back in the proper place. I just want to give you a little helpful hints. This screw right here, that's the hardest one. It's got, you put the screw in there and there's the nut. So while that was out here, we could reach it better, so we put that in first. Then we took this, got this bracket, put this bracket on, attached it here, 10, so they're all 10 millimeters, as you know, and attached it over there, right there. Right, we got this bracket on. We put this 12 millimeter on this so that bracket attaches to there. We also put that on, 10 millimeters, and once we got this bracket on secured, we hung the mini, pulled up the mini radiator, the small radiator, attached it by 10 millimeter there, 10 millimeter there, just loosely so you can still jiggle it. Then we lined up the bottom holes. There's 2 10 millimeters, one there and one there that we had taken off. There's it down there. I guess it was this one that we took off right there. And then we tighten all them up once we got them installed. So it's all installed now. It's back the way it was originally installed. We got this. We had to pry with screwdrivers. We had to pry to shove this radiator and shroud assembly back through the firewall here. We had to pry down on this plastic shroud to get it past this lip of the firewall. We did that with slotted screwdrivers, 2 of them there. We had a slotted screwdriver here to tuck that in, and then on the back side we got a slotted screwdriver in to reach into this part because it was catching on all these areas. And once we got enough screwdrivers in there, the wedge, to bend that down, we were able to push this right in easily. And so use your slotted screwdrivers to pry at that. That's a helpful hint. And it should go on quite easily if you use the screwdrivers, because it catches on all this. It's so tight, which is good, right? It's well made. I like it. Over here, just to recap, we filled her up with oil, took 5 liters. We filled this up with radiator fluid to the halfway mark. We are good there. We tighten those hose clamps down there. We are good. I think we're good to test it. We're ready to fire this thing up and see if it leaks under pressure. It's one thing to not leak and there's no pressure, but when there's 30 pounds per square inch, 35 pounds per square inch, something like that, we'll see if it holds. I think it will though. But I think it's a good little fix. We'll see. Looks good. They're going. There's no leaks. This job is done. All right. Well, I fixed the radiator leak. That's fixed now, and the oil, changed the oil in the process, so that's good. That's not leaking. That's all good. But the last thing I got to do is put this panel on. And I notice right here, you look at it there, can you see that? That is leaking fuel. So when you hold it up here, it doesn't leak. It's down like that, it does. Now I notice there's a squirrel's nest right here. So I believe a squirrel chewed on that. Put just a pin-sized hole in there. Lately I had been smelling diesel fuel, so that's what I gotta do. I gotta repair that. I think I'm just going to, there's a lot of slack here, I got a lot of room. I can cut that hose back an inch. The hole is right here, about an inch back, so I'll cut that back about 1.5 inches and reinsert it onto that nozzle, and that should take care of that leak, because I know it's from a tooth, the teeth from a squirrel. Just chewed on a little bit, see if it liked it. It didn't chew the sense. So I will fix that in the process. So that's a good thing about these YouTube videos. It's a good thing about doing it yourself. You get in here and look at it forces you to get in there and look at other things too. You see problems down the road or things that need maintenance or service, because you're doing it yourself. nice and fixed it with a screw. Excellent. Head in the shop. Head the O-ring in the shop. It's perfect. That's the way how I like things to happen. I hope it goes like that for you, your job. And if I've helped you out in this video, then help me out. Like and subscribe. Send me a message. Either way, it's all good. You got this. You got this.